Okay, let's talk people about Black women in labor, because there were two videos that went viral this week, and they both show something that Black women in this country have been saying for generations. When they are in pain, when they're in labor, when something is wrong, the system does not always listen. I want to bring in the perfect person to discuss that right now, and that's Dr. Frida. She is a triple board certified medical doctor with certifications in nephrology, hypertension, and diabetes. She's also the host of the Dr. Frida YouTube channel. Thanks for joining, Doctor. I appreciate you helping us get through this. Okay, can we go through these videos and then you and I talk?
That sounds good.
Okay. So the first one this is out of Crown Point, Indiana. It happened at Franciscan Health. Let's roll the clip.
Yes, she's talking about my uterus.
My daughter's in active labor, and this is a Franciscan Crown Point being put out in active labor. So we gotta transfer her to a different hospital while she's in labor, in pain.
Oh my God. So that is Mercedes Wells. And I believe that's her mom that's with her. She went to the hospital in active labor. Staff examined her. They told her that she was only 3 centimeters, so dilated. And so they discharged her. And then they wheeled her out. You see them right there. They were wheeling her out of the building while she was still contracting, still in pain, and still clearly it was progressing. And then 8 minutes later, 8 minutes, she delivered her baby in the car. Her partner had to do it himself. Her family had to call 911 while they were racing to another hospital. Here's a short news report, and then we'll discuss.
But is being kicked out of this hospital and she's in active labor.
This is video the family posted to Facebook showing Mercedes Wells being pushed down the hallway of a Crown Point hospital in a wheelchair.
She's talking about my uterus.
Her family says she was in active labor, but they say hospital staff told her because she was only dilated 3 centimeters, she would have to come back later. Her sister-in-law, Sharice Joy Thompson, says they were visiting family in Indiana, and the baby wasn't due for another couple of weeks.
I feel like my family's rights have been violated.
She says 8 minutes after being discharged from Franciscan Health in Crown Point, the baby was born in the car.
Wow. So when she finally made it to community hospital in Munster, doctors rushed out to help her immediately, according to the report. And afterwards, Mercedes said that she felt violated, ignored, and dismissed. Now, I just want to give this statement. This is from Franciscan Health. They later issued a statement saying that the video was deeply troubling, that the narrative does not accurately represent their values, and that they are reviewing what happened. But the outcome speaks for itself. A baby born in a car because a mother wasn't believed. Okay, Dr. Frida, we have that one. Now I want to show you the second video. This one is from Dallas Regional Medical Center. This is in Mesquite, Texas. This is the woman in the hospital in labor.
Fuck! When's your due date? Ah, right now. Is your due date 11? What? How many times have you been pregnant? 3! This is your 3rd pregnancy? Yes! You have 2 babies at home? It's in my ass! You have 2 babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor. Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the Black ones?
Very good question. So that's Carrie Jones, doubled over in that wheelchair, screaming through contractions while her mother begs the staff to help her instead of rushing her upstairs to the labor and delivery. She was kept in the waiting area, and the focus was on the intake questions, the paperwork, and the procedure. And then you can see that the woman was in pain. And you can hear her urgency still sitting there in that lobby. When they finally took her back, 12 minutes later, she gave birth. in the middle of all this, the question still asked, like, why, what the mom asked there, Dr. Frida, do you treat all your patients like this or just the Black ones? Before you, I just want to say the regional medical statement saying that patient dignity and safety are their highest priorities and that they are reviewing the situation to understand what happened. But again, the video tells a different story. 2 states, 2 hospitals, same experience, same dismissal, same danger. And this is something, doctor, that Black women complain about all the time. First of all, the videos are horrific. What do you say?
What if you didn't have to answer your phone? What if when your customer texts you, they were texting your system? That's what House Call Pro does. Check this out. Get instant notifications for incoming calls and texts. Take notes during calls. Quickly create jobs or estimates from a call.
Check out House Call Pro.
A peace plan for Gaza. For the plan to advance, Hamas must disarm. Instead,
tonight, terrifying images emerging from Gaza. Videos show Hamas-linked gunmen carrying out a public execution.
Same story, different day. It is clear. When people learn about the statistics, Dawn, of Black women being 3 times more likely to die around childbirth, the maternal mortality of Black women is 3 times higher than that of white women and other ethnic groups. They wonder why. This is why. And then when you look at newborns, Black newborns are over 2.5 times more likely to die when compared to white newborns. They're more than twice as likely to have low birth weight when you compare them to white newborns. And it's been consistent across the board, and it all comes back to one thing: implicit bias, structural racism, unconscious bias. And I'm careful to use those descriptors because when we say something is unconscious, that's exactly what it is. Even when multiple studies have been done, and when you talk to physicians who consider themselves to be anti-racist, I mean, if they were to have a lie detector test and say, hey, am I racist? They would say no, and they would pass it. But it's because the years and years of oppression, quite frankly, in this country, it's led people to have certain misconceptions. One misconception is that people with darker skin have higher pain tolerance. And when I say that, Dawn, there's actually been studies that have been replicated. There was a 2016 study in the National Academy of Sciences of the United States where medical students were surveyed, medical students. And they found that many of the white medical students wrongly thought that darker people, that Black people had a higher pain tolerance. And then when they were questioned after the survey, they said that they thought that Black people and dark people had thicker skin and less sensitive nerve endings. Why is this? It's a vestige of slavery. Doctors in the 19th century used to say that Black people had a higher pain tolerance, and this was in order to justify all of the unethical experiments that were done and also the brutality that was forced upon enslaved people. And so we're seeing it now that we have social media, but this is something that's been going on. Even when you correct for socioeconomic factors, for education, I have my own personal stories of when I was in labor, and it happens across the board. It's repeatable. We first have to see it and to recognize it for what it is. Yeah. Structural racism before we can solve it.
It was, Andy put up the video of the nurse just sitting there going, how many pregnancies have you had? And it's like, you get that? You know what I mean? And then she's just sitting there and just keeps asking questions. Mm-hmm. And the woman is like, and look, they posted this publicly. Normally we would not put this up, but they want people to know. Right. And I believe these 2 families want people to know. They believe that this illustrates the disparities in healthcare for women of color. And she's just sitting there just sort of asking like blah, 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 blah. And the woman is like, look, and then can I just say this because you said you have your own stories? Because if you think that this just happens to, it's just average people who don't have resources, I want you to look at the women who have spoken publicly about the exact same thing. First of all, Dr. Frida, Serena Williams.
Yes.
Nearly died after childbirth because her care team didn't act on her symptoms of a pulmonary embolism until she insisted on a scan. Then there was Beyonce, who's talked about developing severe preeclampsia with her twins and needing an emergency C-section to protect her life and her babies. And then I don't know if you guys know of Allison Felix, who is an Olympian, I believe, one of the fastest women in the world. She developed severe preeclampsia at 32 weeks and also needed an emergency C-section. Later said that she understood the statistics for Black women, but never imagined that she would almost become one of them. It seems that everybody has a story here. This is not anything that's unusual.
Right. And I'm glad that people with influence, celebrities, share their stories so people understand. Going back as far as 2003, there was a study from the Institute of Medicine that looked at Black people and racial minorities, comparing them with white women, white people in general. And they found that in general, you would have inferior care with Black and brown people. And in that study, they corrected for money, for income, for education. There's just something about what's going on in the system where it feels like it's okay to healthcare providers to discredit women. And just what you said about that nurse, her voice was so cold, so emotionless. She was prioritizing paperwork over a person. And for it to be caught on tape, it just makes what's really happening more real. Yeah.
What would you have done in that situation if someone was there screaming like that?
Oh my gosh. The priority is the patient. You get her to the room, you triage, you get everyone in, and you figure out the paperwork later. I mean, you have her in there. She's in labor. She's not going to run away with the free delivery. And you show compassion. She didn't even say, oh, I know you're having a hard time. Oh, but I have to get through these questions. She showed no humanity. Yes, you always prioritize life, decency, and that nurse didn't have it.
And speaking of what you said, and then she said, and that's not just this nurse. That's according to the mom who was there. She said it started before they even got into the emergency room. It started when they pulled up. Here's the mom.
My daughter went into active labor at home. We took her to the hospital. She called ahead of time, so we know they are expecting us. However, we get there to the emergency room. We watching nurses, putting gloves on, running to the door. They get outside of the door, and I drive a black SUV, and they look at my vehicle, and one of the nurses come up to the window, and she goes, I'm sorry, this is for ambulance only. I said, well, my daughter is in active labor. And she was like, okay, she said, but you're going to have to go to the front.
Is your dog slowing down? Do they have trouble jumping, running, or even going up the stairs? Now you can help them keep moving with Antinol Plus.
Before Antinol Plus, Roxy could maybe walk a mile. But after Antinol Plus, it was wonderful to see her walk 5 miles.
I started to see a difference within 14 days. She can get up off the ground by herself. We no longer have to help her.
Antinol Plus, a proprietary blend of green-lipped muscle oil and Antarctic krill oil that provides daily enhanced joint and mobility support. Antinol Plus is backed by 40 years of clinical research and is proven to work in as little as 30 days.
By taking the Antinol Plus, he can now walk twice a day, 2 miles each walk.
Now they're back to moving again and nearly as stiff-legged as they were, and they're back on their daily walks.
Mobility is extremely important to me, so why wouldn't we do that for Duncan?
Go to AntinolPlus.com and get 50% off your first subscription order. With a 30-day money-back guarantee, you've nothing to lose. Give your dog the joint relief they deserve. Go to AntinolPlus.com and use the code TRY50. Act now.
Doctor?
It's systemic. So yes, we saw that nurse with the poor interpersonal relationship, but this is how systems are developed. When you're dealing with implicit bias, it's not only about the patients, it's about the healthcare providers. When you have systems who perceive perhaps Black healthcare providers, Black nurses, Black doctors as being intellectually inferior, then who's going to get promoted? Who's going to be in decision-making positions? It's going to be other people who have those same ideals. And so, yes, that nurse is not operating in a vacuum. Had she been mentored and taught how to treat people and what is not unacceptable, that wouldn't have happened. And so we're talking about labor here. But I remember when I did my med peds, my internal medicine pediatrics residency in Georgetown, I would deal a lot with sickle cell patients, right? And most patients with sickle cell disease are of African descent. They're Black patients. Depending on where I was practicing, which ER I was rotating through, some people would be like, oh, we got a sickler. They automatically assume that you have someone who's a drug addict, someone who is exaggerating, and the treatment, you can just see it. But one way to prevent things like this, the implicit bias, the structural racism from showing through, is to have protocols, Black and white protocols. And that's just one way that we can implement things, and that we do implement things in the system in order to prevent people from having their bias. But it is throughout. I'm talking about even with children. There was a study showing that when you look at children with appendicitis, Black children received less appropriate pain control, pain medications than white children. Across all ages, darker patients are perceived in these replicated studies of having a higher pain tolerance, which means that their pain is dismissed. And what is less humane than reducing someone and ignoring their pain?
Less fragile. The lighter folks are less fragile than the darker. I mean, the Black folks are less fragile than the white
Right.
folks. White
Oh,
kids,
she
yeah.
can take it. Oh, she's being dramatic. Oh, she's being
Ugh.
hysterical. You know, back in the day, they used to have the babies in the field. It goes back to, I'm telling you, the vestiges of slavery. And so when people always say, oh, get over it, you know, we're out of Jim Crow, we're out of slavery, the wounds are still here and they're unhealed, and they're being taught and they're being recycled. And that's why I'm so happy to bring light to this issue. And I love that mother who said, do you treat all your patients like this or just the Black ones? It's like she was trying to turn a light switch on in that nurse, just in case she didn't realize that she was, you know, discriminating. But that's what was happening. I have no doubt.
Luckily, thankfully, there were two good outcomes. First, this is the mom in Indiana. They show her, this is her, right after she gave birth in the car. Here it is.
If you're still using paper invoices, forget about it. Sign up with Housecode Pro now, and it will help you manage your business and be more effective with your time, and therefore you can spend more time on your family.
What I didn't say was that the dad was driving and caught the baby as he's driving in the car, because that one happened 8 minutes later. And then the other one in Texas was 12 minutes later. And this is their outcome.
Hey guys, I'm here with Mom and Baby Cash. They are doing well. He has a doctor's appointment tomorrow at the pediatric center. It's a lot of concerns. They taking tests on him. He still have to go through several other tests down the line because he was born with his eyes open, and due to the stress and trauma that occurred in the triage area, the baby had a bowel movement
Meconium.
in Mom, and the fluids was green. And like I said, he born with his eyes open. So they are, taking all that in consideration as well.
Okay. Can you talk to us about that? Because that is the stress of that, right? Go on.
I'm mad, let me tell you. So this takes me back to when I would do the NICU, neonatal ICU rotations, and dealing with newborn babies. When labor and delivery would have a baby that was stressed, of course, in the hospital, not on I-75, even in the hospital, when they realize they're having a stressful delivery and there is meconium, and that's what she's describing, a stressed baby who has a bowel movement in utero, okay, before the baby's born. If they have a bowel movement, we call that meconium. Meconium is literally feces. And so what happens if the baby takes the feces in, eats it, it's in their eyes? They can get septic, they can get infection. And so we would go in, we would take care of those babies. A lot of those babies are born with low oxygen. They definitely need antibiotics. And this is in a controlled situation. And so what they did was they increased the likelihood of that baby having an overwhelming infection, and they're increasing that baby's risk of being very sick or possibly not being here. And so the poor treatment of that young lady in particular could have taken the life of her baby, including herself. And then I think about the other complications. It's not incredibly uncommon for a baby to be born with a cord around their neck. We used to have the babies delivered, they'd have the cords, they'd be blue. And with all of our medical expertise, more than one pediatrician at a time, we'd be, doing all of the maneuvers to make sure that the baby's okay. Imagine being in a car with your husband with one hand on the wheel, one hand on the baby, complications going on, and you're not even a physician. How do you tell someone that their life doesn't matter without telling them their life doesn't matter? You send them out of the hospital in active labor. There definitely need to be some repercussions for this. And I'm glad that you mentioned this nurse is not operating in a vacuum. If they do more research, they're going to find, more likely than not, a culture of disregard for certain patients.
Well, Dr. Frida mentioned this, but Black women in America are 3 to 4 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women, not because of biology, not because of income, because of bias, because of disbelief, because when a Black woman says something is wrong, too often she's treated like that she's exaggerating, that she's emotional, or it's not urgent. And you see that in both of these videos. One in Indiana, you're not far enough along. And then in Texas, we need to finish this paperwork. And so start believing what's in front of your eyes. Start believing Black women and start treating them like humans in any, not just when they're delivering, but in any medical situation. Dr. Frida, thank you very much. I appreciate you joining.
It's always a pleasure.
Let us know what you think in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.
Pro videos without ever being on camera. Just type the AI does the rest. Hate